Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the owner and co-creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you about how the dismissive avoidant tends to operate in the power struggle stage of a relationship. So if you aren't already familiar, there are generally 6 major stages of a relationship that take place for every life cycle of a relationship, and we can progress or digress into any one of these 6 stages sort of at any given point in time. When we don't realize A, what our attachment style is, and B, what stage of a relationship we're in and what some of the qualities and characteristics are of this relationship, relationships are exponentially more challenging to figure out how to navigate because we don't have all the information. So it's really easy for the mind to fill in the gaps of not having information with worst case scenarios and potential challenges. Like, it's easy for somebody, for example, to say, oh my gosh, like, you're in the stability stage of a relationship and it's this time to like sort of gather your bearings and get into a harmony and have a nice connection and reestablish habits of connection. And it's easy for the mind to go, oh my gosh, we're not on this like roller coaster anymore. We must be falling out of love. The feelings are over. The relationship's ending. And then we start thinking like that and acting accordingly. Meanwhile, if we just had the information that, oh, we are in the stability stage of a relationship, we might actually be able to operate differently, and we wouldn't be giving meaning to that stage in the same way that actually proves detrimental to a relationship. Instead, we could take it and go, oh, this is a great time to just develop healthy habits and have harmony and progress into the commitment stage and start having deeper conversations about the future. And so the information we have plays a major role. So in this video, I'm going to go into the characteristics of the dismissive avoidance, specifically in the power struggle stage. I've had a lot of requests for this kind of stuff. And just so you know as well, I have all of our advanced attachment style courses inside the school are about these things specifically, okay? So literally, we've got the 6 stages of the relationship and how each attachment style shows up, what their symptoms are, the protest behaviors, how to gauge what phase you're in and what phase your partner is trying to operate within, and to figure out if you're single and out of a relationship, where you tend to go wrong, what stages you get caught on, and why, and what you need to know, and then actual subconscious reprogramming tools to break through any of these areas that you keep finding yourself stuck. So we have these inside the Personal Development School, but I've had so many requests, so I just wanted to share a little bit more information here over video as well. So the power struggle stage is generally the stage that takes place after the dating stage, after the honeymoon stage, and then we get to the tertiary stage, which is the power struggle. And the main goal of the power struggle stage, the reason we're having this stage to begin with, is that this is a time where each unique individual is supposed to integrate themselves fully and drop the mask essentially of being on their best behavior and catering so much to their partner during the earlier 2 stages. Now, what's interesting is the dismissive avoidant tends to want to get to this stage a little bit faster. It should take a long time in the dating stage and then a much shorter time in the honeymoon stage. And they progress into the power struggle stage faster because they want to drop their mask. They don't want to feel engulfed and enmeshed in a relationship, which is characteristic of the honeymoon stage. They want to feel like, oh, I'm bringing my sense of self fully into a relationship as quickly as possible, because dismissive avoidants are self-soothers. They don't want to abandon their sense of self. They feel safe through knowing that their true self is brought into everything that they're doing, and that they don't have to abide by expectations or be on their best behavior for anybody else. So this can be really alarming if you're a fearful, avoidant, anxious, and even sometimes a secure person, and all of a sudden you see this person, almost in like a juxtaposition sort of way, like jumping into the power struggle stage when you've just been in this like harmonious, loving honeymoon phase, right? So it can sort of make this big difference. So this stage, as a general rule, begins roughly at the year mark, sort of at minimum, to 2 years into the relationship. And people can stay here for a very long time. This is the single most common stage that people end relationships and they break up in this relationship. Sometimes in extreme cases, I have seen exceptions where I've seen individuals enter into this stage around the 8-month mark. And this is usually when it's a fearful avoidant and dismissive avoidant in a relationship together. But symptoms of this stage are things like fighting more, feeling more disconnected, less intimacy, sometimes seeking attention outside of the relationship, but also feeling a little bit more comfortable around one another. And what you're here to do in this stage is to drop the mask, to allow your flaws, your vulnerabilities, your character traits that aren't as amazing and perfect show up in this stage. And what can happen is each partner can sort of feel like, oh, you're not who you said you were because you're showing up differently than you were. And that can feel like a subconscious betrayal to different individuals. Now, what dismissive avoidants are really trying to get out of this stage and what they need in order to progress into the next stage is they need to feel like their autonomy and their independence are respected, seen, heard, and understood. They also need to feel like they are safe to be who they are in a relationship. If they feel like they're going to be trapped or engulfed in this stage, this is when they're going to really struggle the most. So they need to feel like they can have their needs for their independence, autonomy seen, heard, communicated, discussed. And the more this is a known thing, the more that you communicate as the partner of a dismissive avoidant, for example, by saying things like, oh, I would really like to do this, but no pressure. Let's see if you're open to doing it. Or you can say, I don't want to make you feel trapped or confined in any way, but this is a need that I have. Do you think you'd be open to meeting this need? The more you can work your needs and your expectations into using language, into a way that says, hey, I'm not here to challenge or take anything away from your life. I'm here to develop healthy compromises and not necessarily enter into this one-sided situation or take anything away from you in regards to your freedom. So the more this is communicated about, the more smoothly you're going to move through these stages. Okay. And this is where you're trying to get into this space of healthy interdependence. Now, another couple things that are really important in this stage, dismissive avoidants want to know that they are not going to be disrespected in any way. They want to know that they're not going to be criticized or shamed in any way. And these are all the rites of passage that they need to sort of pass through this stage into the stability stage. And so this means, can you effectively communicate in a way that's non-critical? Can you say things like, instead of showing up in a way where you're going, hey, you forgot to do this again and I'm so upset with you, I can't believe this. Instead of emotionally dumping, can you say, hey, we're not perfect, but I recognize that there was this forgotten thing that happened that we had discussed earlier. I'm not angry about this, but can we make an effort? And what's a strategy to make an effort and work on this together? The more you can bring the together type of language that's inclusive of both parties, the more you're not blaming, but you're simply re-communicating a need. And a problem that I see a lot of individuals run into is they often think that if they communicate a need once, and this isn't just any specific attachment style, a lot of people think, well, if I communicate a need once, my partner should remember forever because it was really vulnerable for me to communicate a need. And if they forget or they don't follow up with what that need is, they don't care about me, I'm unloved. And that's just not the case. One of the most important things we can do in relationships is consistently communicate our needs until there's sort of subconscious programs in how our partner treats us and sees us and understands us, and vice versa. So it's very important to go through this stage with a dismissive avoidant by being consistent about communicating your needs. Now, it's very common that DAs often retreat a lot during this phase because they're trying to avoid vulnerability. And part of the lessons they have to learn, okay, because we've touched on like what you need to do with them, but part of the things they have to learn in order to progress through this stage is that it's safe to be vulnerable, that vulnerability is okay and acceptable, that they won't be shamed or rejected in their vulnerability, that it's okay to get in touch with their own feelings, and that things like passive aggression are symptoms of unresolved emotions, needs, and feelings that they're not communicating about. And if a DA can't start to get their needs met in a relationship, if they can't start to ask for their needs to be met, request, communicate about their own needs, even if that need is just for safety, or even if that need is just for more harmony or less criticism or whatever it might be, if they don't feel safe communicating about their needs, then it's going to be very difficult to keep progressing in the relationship. So this is an important and healthy rite of passage in order to move into the stability stage. And this is the place that DAs often get the most stuck. So this is another really important piece here. During this stage, Dismissive avoidants are often very slow to warm up after a conflict. They start to be a little bit quicker in the proceeding stages of the relationship, but usually if there's a conflict, it takes them about 1 to 3 days to start opening up. Some of the unconscious expectations they carry are this belief that people should always be rational and stable, that people shouldn't want to keep spending so much time together. And this is sort of the time where they have to sober and question their own expectations, because they can sort of be in this state of projecting their expectations onto somebody else. And this is a time to be able to back up, question our own expectations, and then communicate about them. And one of the best things you can do if you're with a dismissive avoidant, or if you are the dismissive avoidant, sit down with your partner and write all of your needs and all of your expectations on paper and bring them to each other and have a healthy conversation about it. Because whatever you do proactively is going to stop you from running into obstacles and having a hard time communicating reactively. So the more you have conscious conversations ahead of time, the more time you're going to save for yourself. So there's a lot more to this whole stage and some of the different protest behaviors and things that come up, but maybe I'll save that for a future video. So thank you. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And thanks for liking and sharing and subscribing to the video. I'll see you in the next video.